I've been enjoying playing Dark Souls, the board game, the last few nights, and I thought it'd be really cool to incorporate the miniatures from the Dungeons and Dragons adventure system into it, because I've got a lot of painted and unpainted D&D minis, and I've got a number of those board games. I'll just add variety to the monsters or enemies that the Dark Souls characters have to encounter. So, and I thought the more I looked at it, the more I could see similarities between the rule sets. And while the terminology is a little bit different, it didn't take too long to compile a list of similar mechanics and to get the terminology in order. So an example would be looking at these cards here. So I've got here the hollow encounter cards showing that there's going to be a hollow soldier and two of the archers, crossbow hollows. Instead of having them as I have set up here, I replace them with equivalent level 1 or experience 1 monsters from D&D. So I've got here zombie is level 1 experience, so he to me is equivalent to the hollows, who are the weakest form of enemies in Dark Souls. And here's another 1 experience monster. So how this works is I set them up according to that encounter card, and so I put the 2 zombies here on that spawn mode. I put the hypnotic spirit on that one. I start off through this entrance on an entry node, and looking at the zombie, what I haven't worked out yet is the what do you call this? The initiative. I think I call it the taunt level or whatever it is. Oh, can't seem to get it here, but it's a 5 anyway. It's a 5. Isn't it focusing? There we go. That's terrible. 5, and the crossbow hollows are 2. So the soldier goes before the hollow, before the character. That's not going to be too hard to work out. Maybe I'll have to go via. I have to work out a way to determine who goes first. But I haven't worked that one out yet. But I'll be using the same hit points. So they both have 1 hit points, just like these guys have 1 hit point at the top there on the heart. For the armor class, what I've done is I've said that any armor class of 12 or less gets a 0 for both physical and for magical. And then for 13 AC in the D&D system, I said they get 1 physical, 0 magical, 14 is 1/1. And actually, I'm going to put this up on BGG, but here it is here. So AC 13 to 12 or less gets 0. 13 gets, and so forth. So you can see if you get up to 18 AC, you're going to have 3 physical, 3 magical. But that, I mean, that's pretty rigid. You can make it more flexible if you wish. If you've got like a cloth wearer who's very powerful AC, you might say he's got higher magical or whatever. Okay, so so this guy would have 0, 0. This guy would have 1, 1. So he'd be equivalent to like a hollow soldier has 1, 1, 1 physical, 1. Okay, so the next thing is we go to the scripting command. This is where I noticed it's actually very similar to Dark Souls. Dark Souls, they generally move and then attack. Here, it's similar. So if the zombie is within 1 tile, so what we do is we change the word tile to node. So if it's within 1 node of a character, Dark Souls is not a hero, it's a character. it moves adjacent to the closest character and attacks that character with a rotting fist. Okay, so these would move in just like the hollow soldiers would. Then, to perform the attack, well, actually, we'll go to this one. Otherwise, the zombie moves one node toward the closest hero. So, yeah, so if they were back here, they would just move one node, where you moved them like you would in Dark Souls, where you couldn't put in a barrel, but you'd move them there. All right, so let's say they go into attack. Then how do we do the damage? So what I've done with the damage is I've said you add 3 to this. So it's fixed. There's no such thing as die rolling to attack. It's just automatic. In Dark Souls, they automatically hit. But the damage is +3 to that number. So it's going to be 4 damage. And that's across the board for the... you just add +3 for any of these figures. Like this guy here, you'd add 5 damage. Okay, so ignore the attack thing. That's just pretend it's written automatic. And like in Dark Souls, we'll do fixed damage, and the damage will be 4 for each. And this one says for each monster on the zombie's node. So in this case, actually, he'll be doing 5. Normally he'd do 2 in the game because there's another zombie there, but in this case we just had +3, so 2 + 3 is 5. All right, so that's quite a powerful hit. And if we defeat them, we get 1 soul. I'm changing experience to soul. All right, so and then Hypnotic Spectre. He would be, if the Hypnotic Spectre is within 1 node of a hero, it moves to the closest hero, character's node and attacks each character on that node with a horrifying howl. Otherwise, the closest character moves 2 nodes closer to the Hypnotic Spectre. So he would drag him to there. This guy would do 4 damage with the howl. And all right, so what are some other examples? So this guy, disciple of how do we pronounce that? Caius. Okay, he's got 16 AC. So on my chart, that is equivalent to 2 physical, 2 magical. He only has 1 hit point. If he is adjacent, now adjacent means on the same node. So if he's on the same node as the my character there, the assassin, all characters on the same node take 5 damage. We always add +3. That's the general rule for damage. Okay, to get it on the same scale. Okay, so it goes through. Now, if he is within 2 nodes of a character, he attacks it with a neurotic bolt. So 2 nodes. So he's basically got a range of 2, like that. And he does 4 damage. Otherwise, if he's out of range, he moves 1 node toward the closest character. Okay, and if you knock him off, you get 2 souls. Another example is the Grave Hound. 12 AC means he's a 0/0, but he does have 2 hit points. If he's within 1 node of the hero, it moves to the same node as the hero and attacks it with the hero or character with a necrotic bite. Otherwise, he'll move 2 nodes towards the hero with the fewest hit points remaining. Now, what fewest hit points just means if they have the most red cubes. If it's the, and of course the opposite would apply. If they have the most hit points remaining, they have the fewest red cubes. Sorry, the fewest hit points remaining would mean they have the most red cubes. Now, looking at the bite damage, it does 5 damage. We add +3 to it. Now, I've got here, it has here miss 1 damage. So what that means is, it actually, you actually add that on. So it's it really does entitle 6 damage. I think that's the best way to incorporate the miss 1 damage. So if you dodge it, you dodge all 6 damage. If you block, you got to block 6 damage. So whenever you see miss 1 damage, miss 2 damage, you add that on. So it's 2 plus 3 and then plus the miss damage. Okay. I didn't want to ignore that because it's a powerful ability and it needs to be there. And now if it had a condition, let's say it had poison or immobilize, I'll go through that in a sec. But that works pretty much the same way in Dark Souls. Poison is identical. And looking at I've got a list here of conditions. So poison works the same way. You put a poison on it and then it comes off after you activate. Slowed in D&D is in Dark Souls, it means it cannot run. If your character gets dazed, it means it can either move, which is either walk or run, but then it can't attack or shift, or it could do the other option. So one or the other. So a bit, again, very similar to what's in the D&D game. It's pretty much the same thing. I just emphasize that you can dodge or block if you're dazed. Immobilize, I think, is even worse. If you're immobilized, you can't walk, run, shift using a weapon or dodge, but you can still attack and block. And stunned is really bad. You can't really do anything but block. Now in D&D there's a advantage condition, and how we incorporate that into Dark Souls board game is to say that whenever you block, you have to roll another set of dice, and you take the worst one if you're at disadvantage, or the better one if you have the advantage, and same with the dodge rolls. Conditions they're weakened, I just say, well, that's the same as bleed in Dark Souls. And I think that's, so there's I have here damage. We heard of X's, it's X plus 3, attack plus X, it's automatic hit. And then I go through different terminologies, like what it says if it says in D&D teleport, you just say it moves to. If it says ignore walls, like the Umber Hulk, you just say, well, ignores the barrels, gravestones, treasure chests. Whenever it says draw an encounter card, what you do is you draw a monster card from D&D and you place it on a spawn node on the same tile as the character. Regains or lost hit. So anyway, a lot of it is pretty obvious. Like when you look at it, you go, yeah, this makes the most sense doing it this way. I'll put this up on the what do you call it, the forums on BGG for Dark Souls on the variants. As I'll have it under like converting DDAS to DS monsters. But I think the only thing I haven't really nutted out, as I said, was the who goes first for the monsters or the enemies, because I just realized that now it's not obvious who would go first here. There's no real initiative. Stat. And the second thing, with the game as a whole, I am looking to make it play a little bit more like D&D. Sorry, not the actual combat mechanics and the movement, that's all the same as Dark Souls, but just the setting up of the tiles from the beginning. So I might, even though this will be a table hog, these are some extra. So just like in D&D, you get this small bunch of tiles, dungeon tiles, and as you go into an unexplored edge, you reveal it. I'll try and do the same with all these tiles I've got here for Dark Souls. And that way the sentry monsters in the Dungeons & Dragons can spawn. If you don't kill them quick, they'll be spawning, they'll be flipping these over with the, with the encounter cards, and those will then determine you know, what experienced monsters you get from D&D. So, see, I'd say that these guys here would probably be equivalent to experienced 3 monsters. So if you got these two, these large hollows, they would be the same as, you know, these guys, 3 experienced guys. And then a sentinel, you get the sentinel, he's like the biggest of the mobs. Before you get to the bosses, he'd be the same as a level 4 D&D guy. These guys would be the level 2s, the silver knights, and the hollows are the level 1s. So it's just an easy way to incorporate more monsters. If you're getting a bit sick of the Dark Soul ones, and Dark Souls, I've got, you know, there's a lot there once you get the expansions for Dark Souls. But anyway, I'm going to tidy it up a little bit and just, but I really like the gear in Dark Souls. I don't like the D20 system and D&D adventure system. I'm just too random. There's not much thought to it, and I really love the. Not only do I love the graphics, the components for Dark Souls board game is just the best. I just love the art. I love the blocking, dodging. You get that progression feeling by, you know, doing your stats here: strength, dexterity, intelligence. I love slowly progressing up, getting these better die rolls, better abilities, better range. So that to me is just fantastic. I do like the monsters. It's just that after a while, you know, well, not after a while, very quickly it becomes easy to, you know, anything that only moves 1 and has 0 range, you can just kite round the board. You know, you don't even have to be awake to beat them, especially, you know, 1. I mean, doesn't matter if this had 10 hit points. If he's only moving 1 and you can run round, it's just not a problem. But there's going to be some of these creatures here in D&D that's going to throw some spanners into the works, like the hypnotic spirit just dragging the character towards two nodes towards him is going to throw your plans out a little bit. It's going to make you think a bit more. What's some of these guys? See this one here. Again, you're moving towards the vampire stalker. What else? I mean, there's so many of these monsters if you get the board games. This guy's moving. If he's within 2 nodes, he basically moves to right next to the character. Otherwise, he's moving 2, so he's fairly quick, and he does 7 damage, and he's got actually 16 AC. That's 3-3, I think, or 3-2. That's quite high. This guy places the new monster. So imagine in Dark Souls, you're just getting another you're getting an enemy who's just placing, you know, more monsters. So you got to kill him quick. So, so these just add interesting mechanics to the game. The sentries add interesting mechanics. You've got then extra conditions being put in there. You've got, and then I haven't even got to the bosses like Strahd and so forth. But all right, I hope that's going to be of some assistance to someone out there. Thanks.